Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to College Hoops Tonight. I am your host, Austin Samuels, and today is a very, very big day. We are doing bracket picks today here on College Hoops Tonight channel. I'm really excited. March Madness is finally here. Oh, man. Hopefully I can teach you guys a little something. Maybe, I don't know if you want to totally pick along with me on my bracket today, but I'm feeling really good about it, so let's hop into things, first of all, with the West region. So looking at the West region, obviously I've got Gonzaga getting it done against Georgia State. I think Georgia State's a good team, maybe deserving of a higher seed, but yeah, Zag's going to take them down. Tough game between Boise State and Memphis. I think that Boise State is able to pull it out in a close one. UConn, New Mexico State, I think that's going to be a really close game as well. I really like the Aggies team, but I think UConn gets it done. My first upset here, I've got Vermont beating a really streaky Arkansas team. Vermont's great offensively, and I think they're going to get it done and actually make a run to the Sweet 16 here. In the play-in game, I've got Notre Dame squeaking out one against Rutgers and then winning against Alabama. Actually, Alabama's been really streaky up and down all year. I think Notre Dame outshoots them and moves on to the round of 32. Texas Tech, I think, is going to take care of Montana State. Michigan State-Davidson will be a great game, back and forth, probably pretty low scoring the whole way, but I think Davidson squeaks it out. And, moving on to the second round, I've got the Zags rolling over Boise State. Again, Zags just too much firepower for the Broncos. Vermont, again, I've got them kind of as a Cinderella team here this year. I really, really like what they do offensively. They shoot the three really well. UConn doesn't defend the three that well. Vermont going to the Sweet 16. Texas Tech, I've got them probably taking care of Notre Dame pretty easily just because Texas Tech plays such good defense. They move on to the Sweet 16. And then I've also got another big upset here. I think Davidson takes down Duke. Davidson gets to the free throw line really, really well. Duke, all their losses basically have come when they give up a lot of free throws to the other team. Give me Davidson into the Sweet 16 as well. And the last couple of matchups here, I've got the Zags rolling over Vermont. Pretty easy matchup for Gonzaga in the Sweet 16. They move on to the Elite Eight. And then I've got Texas Tech, who's just, outsizes Davidson through and through. And I think they get it done as well. And then finally, the Elite Eight matchup, Gonzaga versus Texas Tech. I've got the Zags in a close one. This is a rematch from a few years ago in the Elite Eight. But I think the Zags' size and front court is going to move them on past the Red Raiders into the Final Four. All right, moving over to the South region on the right side of the screen. First of all, I've got Arizona rolling against Wright State, who I think is going to win in the first four. Then I've got TCU, who I really like this TCU team. I think they are one of the best defensive teams in the country. I think they're going to probably, it may be tight because they play in such low-scoring games, but I think they take care of Seton Hall. Then I've got an upset here. I've got the UAB Blazers, a terrific offensive team, really great three-point shooters, taking down Houston in the first round. I think that will be one of the best games of the first round, possibly. Then I've got Illinois moving past Chattanooga in a close game. Chattanooga's got a great offense, but I think Illinois' size moves them past. Colorado State, I've got them moving past Michigan. I personally think Michigan shouldn't have been in the tournament, period. I think they are overrated in the Big Ten. I think Colorado State takes them down. Tennessee actually draws a pretty tough opponent in the first round in Longwood as a 14 seed, but I think they're going to squeak by and get into the second round. Ohio State is going to manage to take care of business against Loyola Chicago in the first round. I think, last year was really just a fluke for them against Oral Roberts. but I think they're going to be able to play inside well enough to beat the Ramblers and move on. Villanova, I've got them rolling over Delaware. Delaware doesn't do anything particularly well. Therefore, this Villanova team is just too good. I think they're going to move on. Looking at the second round, we've got Arizona and TCU. I've got Arizona moving on just because their front court is really, really good. I think it has them enough to move past a really good defensive TCU squad. UAB and Illinois, interesting matchup here. Really perimeter-oriented team versus, a team with Kofi Cockburn, the best scoring big man in the country. I think Illinois moves on by past UAB, but I think it's a close game. Colorado State with an upset here against Tennessee. I think the Rams outshoot Tennessee in kind of a weird defensive game where everybody's just chucking up threes. I think the Rams move on. And then I've got Nova rolling over Ohio State to get to the Sweet 16. I just don't think Ohio State has the defensive capabilities and the talent to compete with Nova. Then in the Sweet 16, I've got Arizona beating Illinois relatively handily. I think, Arizona has a good enough matchup to defend Kofi Cockburn with that front line. I think they move on to the Elite Eight. And then I've got Nova rolling again against Colorado State. I think, this would be a great run for the Rams, but I think their luck would run out here. And then lastly, moving on to the Final Four, I've got Villanova beating Arizona. Wildcats versus Wildcats. I think Jay Wright is one of the best coaches in college basketball. And I think he comes up with a defensive strategy good enough to slow down, both Tubelis and Koloko as well as Matherin on the perimeter. Alrighty, moving on to the East Regional. We have got, first of all, Baylor. I think they're going to roll over Norfolk State. Norfolk State doesn't do anything particularly well. Then I've got North Carolina taking down Marquette just because that front line of North Carolina with Brady Manick and Armando Bacot is more talented than anyone that Marquette has down low. I think St. Mary's beats Wyoming here in this 5-12 game. I think Wyoming is going to win a pretty ugly game in the first four against Indiana. And then St. Mary's is going to do what they do best, play defense, and move on here. Got UCLA rolling against Akron. Akron doesn't do anything particularly well, and UCLA is just a terrific all-around team that's finally healthy. Texas, I've got them falling here to Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is red hot, winning the ACC championship. I think the Hokies get it done here against a possibly overrated Texas squad. I think Purdue gets a good scare from Yale in the first round, but they are going to move on as well. In my bracket, Murray State, San Francisco is going to be a great game. Very contradicting styles. Murray State plays really, really fast. Should be an exciting game to watch. I think Murray State comes out with the win here. And then I think Kentucky rolls over St. Peter's. So in the round of 32, got really just one big upset here. I've got North Carolina taking down Baylor. I think North Carolina is going to be able to out-rebound Baylor, and I think their front court, again, with Manick and Bacot, do enough to win this game for the Tar Heels, and they take down the defending national champions. I think UCLA probably rolls over St. Mary's pretty handily here in this 4-5 matchup. The Bruins are just way more talented and can score in so many different ways. I don't think St. Mary's will be able to slow them down enough. Purdue and Virginia Tech, I think this is going to be a really, really close game. I think Virginia Tech, the way they're shooting the ball, is going to keep them close in this game. But, man, Purdue has the size advantage really with Zach Edey and as well as the star power with Jaden Ivey. Give me Purdue in the Sweet 16. And then Kentucky-Murray State, this would be a really interesting matchup between two schools that are like within an hour of each other. I think Kentucky's too talented. I have them moving past Murray State. And then moving on to the Sweet 16, UCLA and North Carolina. I think this will be a really good game, back and forth, really fast-paced the whole way, but I think UCLA comes away with it. Their guards are just superior to North Carolina's, and I think they move on to the Elite Eight. Kentucky and Purdue, this will be a really, really interesting game, maybe one of the best games of the tournament if it happens. I think I'm going to go with Kentucky here. Give me the Wildcats moving on against a really, really good Purdue team. And then lastly, I've got Kentucky beating UCLA in kind of a battle of the Blue Bloods. Kentucky going to the Final Four. Moving on to the last region, I've got Kansas running over Texas Southern, who I think wins in the first four. I've got Creighton over San Diego State. I think that'll be a really interesting game, contrast of styles, but I got Creighton in that one. I've got Iowa beating Richmond pretty handily here. I think Iowa is poised to make a run this year, and I think they do. A big upset here, I've got South Dakota State beating Providence. I think Providence is overrated. I think that they have not been tested enough this year. South Dakota State is a terrific upset, Cinderella team. I think they get it done over Providence and move on. LSU, I've got winning in a really, really close, low-scoring game against Iowa State. And then I've got Wisconsin moving on in a really tough game against Colgate. Colgate is a great basketball team, great offense, but I think Wisconsin is too talented. They move on. Then I've got USC and Miami. I don't know. Miami has not, other than a couple of wins, have not been able to beat high-end talent. Although I like this Miami team, I think they get bounced by USC, who rebounds the ball better than just about anybody in the country. Then I've got Auburn, probably actually getting a little bit of a scare from Jacksonville State. I think they still get it done, though, and move on to the next round. Kansas and Creighton. I've got Kansas probably rolling in this one, maybe by about 15. Iowa, I've got ending South Dakota State's upset Cinderella bid. Iowa moving on to the Sweet 16 as well. I've got Wisconsin beating LSU here. I think they're just too talented, too disciplined of a team. I don't think LSU will be able to score enough to keep up with this Wisconsin team. Auburn and USC. Give me Auburn here, although these teams match up in an interesting way, which is a really intriguing matchup of the front courts, but I think Auburn gets it done. Moving on to the Sweet 16, Kansas and Iowa. I think Iowa pulls off the upset here against Kansas. They've been red hot, and I think, they pull off maybe one of the biggest upsets of the tournament, moving on to the Elite Eight. Auburn, I've got them beating Wisconsin. Really contrast of styles here in this game, but I trust that Bruce Pearl is going to figure out that, that backcourt, they're going to keep it steady enough, and that front court with Walker Kessler and Jabari Smith is going to carry them to the Elite Eight. To the Elite Eight, again, I've got Iowa making their crazy run this year. I've got them as a 5 seed, beating Auburn, going to the Final Four. I really just like the way this Iowa team plays all around. One of the best players in the country, Keegan Murray, best scorers. He's been on an absolute tear lately. All right, looking at the Final Four. Here we go. So I've got Gonzaga against Kentucky. I think Gonzaga gets it done in a really, really exciting, fast-paced game. Again, I think their front court is going to just outdo Kentucky's front court, and I think they're going to be able to stop Oscar Tshiebwe, moving on to the national championship. Then I've got Villanova beating Iowa. Iowa's Cinderella run comes to a close. Jay Wright's squad goes to the national championship to take on Gonzaga, where they will take the national championship. Villanova is going to beat Gonzaga. I've got the score in this one, 73-67. this Villanova team is just really solid all around. Honestly, I feel like people have not been giving them enough credit all year. But I think they're going to come up and be national champions. So, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching the video. Definitely got some upset picks in here. I think this is going to be a wild tournament. First tournament back to normal since COVID. It's going to be awesome, man. March is one of my favorite times of year, so it is going to be exciting. Hope you guys maybe learned something today. If you want to follow along with me on my picks, be my guest, but don't at me if your brackets bust. But thank you all for watching. Thank you for tuning in to College Hoops tonight. Hope you have a great week. Enjoy the games. March Madness is one of the best times of the year. Good night.